What's good, Academy Nation? It's your boy Cass here, coach of your Detroit Red Wingulls, and we are back with the RGBL Season 15. Your boy is coaching the Red Wingulls again to try to get ourselves a little bit of a redemption arc with this league. We have not had luck in the last two seasons of the RGBL, coming up on a very much a losing record at the bottom of most of the tiers. The bottom of the bracket every single time. So we're going to try to do a little bit better this season. I'm not sure exactly how much we have to change. I have done a little bit of off-season prep, changed some of the ways like I drafted and some of the ways I team build and those kinds of things. So I'm hoping to show some improvements this season with the league itself and hopefully get ourselves at least to playoffs. I'd like to have a winning record. That's kind of my goal this season, is to get a winning record. I don't really even have to get playoffs or anything, but I just want a winning record. But anyways, this video is going to be the draft analysis video where I talk about why I drafted what I drafted, what I have, so you guys are aware of what the team is and kind of what I hope the team can do this season. So we got 8th out of 16 coaches. So we got the 8th slot, which I don't like the middle of the draft. I always hate the middle of the draft. I like the wheel picks because the chance that you get two things back to back is really good. Being in the middle kind of made it hard because there were times where I had to kind of think about, okay, I got to draft this because this other person has two picks before I get back to me and they're going to take what I want. And that's only happened a couple times in the draft, but it still was something I had to think about and was really frustrating to have to deal with. That being said, I can't really complain about the position because I got some really good Pokemon. Starting off, we got Darkrai to begin. This league has some pretty good Pokemon in it, but Darkrai was on the board. It was the last Pokemon in the 25-point tier, which is the highest tier in the league, when I got around to my 8th pick, and I saw it there. I really didn't have plans to draft Darkrai. I honestly didn't think too much about it, but it was sitting there and I said, this is a really good Pokemon. I like it. I want to try it. So Darkrai was on the team. Now Darkrai is really fast. 125 base speed is pretty good in any case in point, but it is really good for Draft League too because it's going to outspeed the majority of the metagame. Darkrai definitely known for being a fast offensive powerhouse, not as much as a defensive Pokemon. So expect to see just this thing slap some maybe choice items on it, maybe Life Orb. Maybe if I want to be cheeky, I could throw on an Assault Vest to try to be bulky, but we can see some things. The other thing about Darkrai being very frail is it's a good candidate for heavy-duty boots as a way to kind of resist the residual chip damage, which could cause Darkrai to get into a KO range really easy. Typically, we're going to see Dark Pulse and some coverage moves. This thing has options to Nasty Plot. It's got coverage in Electric and Poison and Ice, Psychic. It has utility with taunting and hypnosis and those kinds of things. I don't really see us making use of its ability. Bad Dreams is kind of a hard ability to make use of just because it requires sleep, and sleep is not a great status condition in Draft League. It's much better to get something like Poison or Burn or Para. Those tend to be the better ones to have. Sleep is a nice condition to have, but out of the ones that are volatile, it's not really the one that you want as much. So we'll see what Darkrai can do. I think it's a good option for the team. I've never run a Darkrai in a Draft League. I really like this Pokemon, and I'm excited to see what it does for us. The next time we got a pick, we picked up our Rapid Spin Extraordinaire Iron Treads. It was another Pokemon that I hadn't used. It was still on the board, and I said, I think this really pairs well with Darkrai because of its typing. I think it's a really good counter with Steel as an option to deal with some of our weaknesses to like Fairy. I really wanted that with this team, a way to deal with Darkrai's weaknesses. That's what we're building off of, so I wanted to build around that. This also gives me some ideas with Booster Energy because I can boost any stat that I want for this Pokemon to make it faster or make it hit harder or give it more defensive utility. It's also got a lot of utility in things like Rapid Spin, as we already said, but also Stealth Rocks for hazards. It's got good stabs. It's got utility and Volt Switch to switch out. It's got a lot of trades that I like for this team, and I think it could be a good Pokemon run any way I wanted to. So this really is a jack of all trades Pokemon that can do a lot of different things on this team, and I really like Pokemon that can do that, as you saw last season with like things like Cobalion. I want to make sure that we have those things prepped and ready for this season too. So I am excited to try out Iron Treads to see what it can do. My next pick, I chose Clefable. I wanted a nice Fairy Steel core. Normally you say you want Fairy Dragon Steel. Dragon's not that great in Draft League anymore. It's kind of outclassed. It has been for a little while. So Fairy Steel is the core I wanted. And I think this is another really, really great pair for Darkrai because we have a fighting weakness. This deals with that. We have a bug weakness. Well, Clefable is okay with that too. I wanted a defensive Pokemon. As I said, Darkrai is very weak defensively. It's more of an attacker than anything. It's Glass Cannon realistically. So Clefable kind of helps us out with that and deals with those kinds of things. Magic Guard helps us with statuses, so we can't really take damage from those kinds of things. It doesn't help us with some things, unfortunately. I'm looking at Malignant Chain, but it does help us in the long run. Clefable is a great utility Pokemon. It gets Stealth Rocks, it gets Knockoff, it has Moonlight for recovery. It's got a great Stab and Fairy, which is a great defensive typing too. Could be offensive, could be defensive. Again, another Pokemon that I think we could run a multitude of different ways to make it worthwhile for the team. I'm excited to see what Clefable does. And the coverage moves are really great too. As a normal type that is now a fairy type, it got access to a lot of the elemental typings that you would see with coverages on normal type moves, normal type Pokemon. So I'm excited to see some of those come into play here with Clefable. Obviously, Cosmic Power is an option that I love with this Pokemon just to make it really, really bulky. We can take advantage of some of its item slots too. I think Unaware is an option. So we have some good opportunities here with Clefable, and I'm excited to use it. Our next pick up, our fourth pick overall, was not Hawlucha. We have Hawlucha now. We did some trading. There was a grace period after the draft, 24 hours after the draft, that we did some trades. So this actually was Hisuian Arcanine for a while. I didn't like the ground weakness that our team had, so I wanted to swap that out and what's a really good counter for that besides the flying type itself. So Hawlucha is here to do some work. Hawlucha obviously fast, Unburden, a great ability. Mold Breaker, another opportunity for us. I think these two abilities really pair nicely with the team to deal with some of these things. There are Terra had left Levitate Pokemon again, so we want to deal with those kinds of things as well. We have opportunities to set up. Obviously, I mentioned Unburden, but Swords Dance is also an opportunity. We can Roost. We have some utility with Encore and Taunt and those kinds of things. Acrobatics is going to hurt like a truck, especially if we get Unburden off. This thing could be a sweeper. This could do a lot of utility for our team. I like Hawlucha. Even though it wasn't my original design, I really like it for this team. Fighting is a great typing. Fighting and flying, actually, both are really good offensive typings for Draft League and offensive typings in general. On the physical side, flying is a lot better because you have things like acrobatics, you have things that hit hard that do not miss like Hurricane does. So Brave Bird obviously could be an option too. We have close combat as well as a great opportunity for this team, and I think that Hawlucha can be a really good asset to this team to do some more offensive damage. It gives us a physical offensive Pokemon rather than Darkrai, who is more special. I think that pair is really nice. And I wanted this as another way to counter fighting types. As we said, we're really looking at how to counter Darkrai's weaknesses. We also have a great bug resistance here in Hawlucha, so I like this core right here that we've built at the beginning. It's really the reason that we switched out of Arcanine. I like Arcanine. I really wanted to use it this season, but it just didn't fit the niche of the team. I think if we build a little bit more offensively and maybe with some other units, instead of Darkrai, who was more frail, we had something more bulky on as our kind of height rated tiered Pokemon. We could have done a little bit differently, but I think what we've done, getting rid of Arcanine, was the best play we could have done to allow some other things to fill the team and fill our slots. Up next is Arboliva. This is something I actually drafted. It was on my target list since I've started Draft League in Scarlet and Violet. I've wanted to use Arboliva because it is such a really good Terra Captain, and it is one of our Terra Captains this season, being able to Terra into Fairy, Fire, and Poison. I think those are really good utility types for this Pokemon that can be defensively used or offensively used. All three of them are great in all of those aspects. Part of the reason I like it for those purposes. Obviously, really strong special attacker, and can do a lot of things that grass types do. So I think it could be really useful for our team. Obviously, it's a little bit slow. It's one of our slowest Mons on the team. It's actually the second slowest Mon on the team. But the coverage moves that it has on top of being able to Terra makes this thing a really powerful Pokemon that can do some work. It just likes to sit on the field and recover off its hits with things like Giga Drain, or I think actually I'm not sure if it gets recovered, but it might. Leech Seed's another option for recovery, so it can do a lot of work. It can be really annoying and a tough Pokemon, and that Terra typing really allows us to be a nice defensive wall for our team. Again, something that we need for Darkrai here. Terra Poison Terra Poison and Terra Fairy are actually really good coverage for Darkrai because they are fighting resist, and you see that happening a lot. We get a bug resist also with the fire typing, so there is a lot that can work in here in our favor with Terra Arboliva as our next Pokemon. Here's where we start seeing a lot of the changes in my list. At this point, I knew the first 5 that I wanted: Darkrai, Iron Treads, Clefable, at that point Arcanine, and Arboliva were the 5 that I were sure that I really wanted. I'm glad I got them, and we even switched some of them out just to make it better. But this is where I really know what the draft was going to look for me. I knew I needed some options for this team, so this is my bulky water slot. I actually drafted Poliwrath here instead of Suicune. I needed a fighting type at this point in time. I didn't have Hawlucha, so I wanted a fighting type. As I said, good offensive typing. I thought it was really good. There was a potential for a rain team out there, so I wanted to be able to deal with that. And I thought, hey, we could even set our own rain with Poliwrath and make it a rain sweeper with Swift Swim. I thought it was a good opportunity for a Pokemon to be in. I liked the flip turn ability that it had, but ultimately Suicune is what we needed. It is a nice defensive Pokemon. It puts bulk in bulky water. It is absolutely what we needed for this team to be a defensive threat. As you're starting to see a Fire Water Grass Core that is forming here. That is really what the slot was supposed to be, to fill a Fire Water Grass Core, because we had a fire type. We just drafted a grass type in Arboliva, and we got a water type. Suicune can do a lot. There's utility with Tailwind. There is Calm Mind. There is Scald. There is for burns and those kinds of things. We can do rest. We can do Rest Talk because we are a Suicune. We have Protect. We have Subs. We have Ice coverage. We have Flying coverage. We have Psychic coverage. There's a lot of coverage that Suicune can do, and even if it wants to be a defensive Pokemon, it still has a good offensive prowess as well. So I think it could be used either way to benefit this team. Obviously, it's a nice to have a defensive Pokemon for something so frail like Darkrai on our team, but it also provides that nice niche that it could be an offensive threat as well if we needed it to be. Next up is another pick that I actually traded for. This, I'm trying to remember what this slot was. This was Galarian Slowbro. I wanted Slowbro as well. It's another Pokemon I wanted on this team, but unfortunately, it just wasn't a great fit for the team. We needed both a Psychic. I like the Psychic and a Poison type, just because I think those are 2 good typings to have on a Draft League team. But again, we had a ground weakness, which is covered with its Levitate ability. So Mesprit can be a really good Pokemon. It's got like base 108 in most of its stats, so it can be useful as an offensive and a defensive Pokemon. You see that thread going through my team. They can be used kind of different ways, and depending on the matchup, I can really build this team the way I want to kind of give myself an edge. It has utility in U-turn. It can trick. It has Healing Wish for an opportunity to get a pivot off, as well as heal up something like Darkrai, who would be really weak at that point, to come back in and just destroy the team. Great coverage moves. It gets both the Bolt Beam, it gets Dazzling Gleam, it gets pretty much anything you would want for a special Psychic type Pokemon. Can also be run physically though, so expect to see some different sets for Mesprit, and I really like it as a potential lead option. It's a good choice user. That is for sure. It can even be defensive if I wanted to. It's great for Assault Vest as well. It can do a lot of roles on the team, so I really like that. And as I said, we are seeing a little bit of a ground weakness with Iron Treads. There's a little bit more you'll see later on. Some of my other Pokemon are also ground weak, and that is something I wanted to cover. Ultimately though, Psychic is a good type to have. It pairs well with Darkrai as well. There's kind of this third type core that we don't really talk about, but you always see it with Draft League, and that is Dark, Fighting, and Psychic. We obviously have that here with Darkrai, Hawlucha, and Mesprit. The 3 of those really pivot around each other well to create a nice core that can be defensive and be offensive at the same time. So I like that utility for my team, and I think Mesprit's a great option for the team at this point too. Another Pokemon that we did not draft. So let me see what this one was. This would have been our Kilowattrel. I wanted Kilowattrel for pivoting and offense, but at the end of the day, again, it was one of those things that, hey, it's kind of redundant. It's not really that great. It could be working on this team, but I really needed the points in other places. So instead, we picked Crocalor, who is 2 points, one of the lowest points that we could have. But it's a really good Pokemon, mostly because of its hidden ability, Unaware. It can be one of those things that comes in late to deal with threats on the other side that want to have set up. Obviously, setup is really difficult to deal with, but Unaware really is a great option for that. Plus, it holds Eviolite, which means its defenses are really good, and with some pretty good defensive stats and a good HP stat, this Pokemon can be a menace. The other thing about Crocolore is it also is a Terra captain for this team. If I remember its Terras correctly, it's Water, Fairy, Grass, and Normal, which makes it really useful as a bunch of those are defensive typings. Grass is a great typing. It's paired with fire types. You often see Grass as one of the fire types, Terra types. And Normal can be really good for some utility niche things to deal with some ghost types that we have access to, so we don't have to fully rely on Darkrai or those other things, or like Arboliva to deal with those kinds of things. It's a great option for that. Also has you great recovery and slack off, has some phasing, has some status, can be offensive a little bit with some good coverage moves and those kinds of things. And honestly, it's a Pokemon that appreciates Terra Blast without terraing, and I really like that about both Crocolore and Arboliva. They're great Terra captains. Even if they don't Terra, they can do a lot of work with Terra Blast. So I can slot that move on just in case, and if I don't have to Terra those Pokemon, I can always pivot out to something else. Crocolore, honestly, is just a really good Terra captain. It can do a lot of work for the team. It's something I'm actually wasn't too keen on getting. I've had a lot of people in my front office kind of vouch for it. I was trying to do some different things with the team, but at the end of the day, this is what we got, and I'm interested to see what it does. I'm not so sure if I'll like it or not, but if I don't, we always have points to trade around with the free agency, so that's on the board for us to do. Up next is my Knacklestack, which is my other Pokemon that is a Terra captain. You can have 27 points of Terra. I think we use like 22, so we still have a little bit of Terra points, but nothing else is low enough to use it. This is Terra, Water, Fairy, Fighting, and Bug. Actually, I thought there was good utility and defensive typings, but Knacklestack has been a kill leader in RGBL in the previous seasons. Since I've been in, I've seen it be a menace, and this is absolutely a great Pokemon. It might just be one of the best, if not the best, Eviolite Pokemon that you can use in Draft League. What is it called? Iron Press is such a good strategy. Iron defensive body press plus Terra Fighting can make that thing really hurt. Salt Cure is just a phenomenal ability, especially for this Pokemon who is gonna be really bulky. I can just sit in there and Salt Cure things and whittle them down. I have Recover as well for utility to heal myself. I can get rocks up. I have a lot of great niches for Knacklestack in this team, and I saw somebody use it really well in a previous season. That's why I want to try it out. I've wanted Garganacl, actually, if I was going to be honest. That was on my list, but the points ran out, and Garganacl was 5 more points than Knacklestack, so I went with the cheaper option. I still think it's going to be just as good, if not better, and I'm excited to try it out this season. And last but certainly not least is my final team member, H-Zoroark. At this point in time, I wanted something that was a ghost type. I think that's a good utility type for our team to have, specifically because we had such a fighting weakness in things like Darkrai, and so I wanted a way to deal with that. So a ghost type was great. H-Zoroark's typing is phenomenal, only weak to Dark, which we can cover with some of our other Pokemon on our team, so I think it slots in really well. Obviously, the illusion ability is something that's really nice. This thing can really disguise itself as most of my team, which is really good. And I can make good use of this Pokemon. It's obviously great as choice Pokemon. It can be a Life Orb Pokemon, Focus Sash. It's a good lead. It's a good anti-lead. That's the best part. It's a really good anti-lead with Trick. It's got U-turn for pivoting. It's just a phenomenal Pokemon in its own right, and I really like the Ghost in normal typing, especially in Draft League, because again, you're only weak to Dark, and there's so many fighting types and fighting types and fairy types out there that you're gonna have the utility you need to deal with those weaknesses. So Zoroark in and of itself can be a destructive Pokemon and a dangerous threat for any team. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the speed tier. So when I was doing this draft, one of the things I was considering with the off season is obviously looking at speed tiers. So this is a graphic that we have for the speed tiers this time. We see that I've built kind of fast, but I've also built a little bit slow too. There is some of that missing, and that 90 speed tier missing is kind of sad for me. I really like that 90 speed tier, like 90 to 95. But I think we have good coverage because we have 4 Pokemon that are really fast. Iron Treads at 106 is a phenomenal speed tier because it's a Pokemon that doesn't really need it, but can use it really well. I like our fast options for utility and doing a lot of damage. I like our slow defensive bulky Pokemon that can really take advantage of Trick Room if somebody wants to try to use it against us. Because I can run Mist Spirit really slow and it can do a lot of damage. Same with Suicune. These teams can have a lot of great utility together. I feel like this kind of balance is across the board here, and we're not really too fast, we're not really too slow. We kind of give a little bit of every kind of position. So you have to really think about my speed tiers when you're about building against my team. But that is the team so far. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Special thank you to my front office for all the help so far in the draft and all the help they will give us in the season. If you guys are interested in joining our front office, you can let me know in the comment section down below. I will get you a link to our specific channel because it has to be private so that none of my other competitors can join it, unfortunately. Some of them would be really great to help, but I can't have them join the server if they know what my strategies are. So it's got to be a little secret, unfortunately. But if you are interested in joining, let me know. I'll be glad to hook you up. And I really could use the help with some mocks and those kinds of things going forward. So please consider it. If you have any draft league experience or if you're interested in learning, it's a great place to learn, jump in the front office and try to help, because you might think of things that I don't think of that could be brought. Crazier things have happened, absolutely. So thank you for watching this video, though. I really appreciate you for taking the time to see what we got. I hope you support us throughout the season as we try to make a run for playoffs and the championship of this league. Honestly, I got just a chip on my shoulder to try to do better than I've done the last 2 seasons. And honestly, this is the best draft I think I've had since PDL Season 3. So I really like this team. I really like our Terra options. I really like just how it meshes together. I think we have a great team, and I think the other coaches better beware when it comes to battling us. Thank you for watching, though. My name is Chaos, your coach of the Detroit Red Wingulls. We'll see you next time for our Week 1 battle. Again, I think this series, the battles are due on Sundays, so it might be a Monday upload, it might be a Sunday upload. We'll just have to see. So stay tuned for that. This obviously comes up on Sunday, but I'll have to check with just when we get battles done and the league itself. So stay tuned for that. I might try some different things with Team Builder too, so let me know your thoughts on those as well in the comment section down below, because I don't know if I like what we've done in the previous seasons, but I do want to give Team Builder, so you definitely should check those out. All right, I'll stop talking now. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, and if you want to join the channel to support us financially, it's really appreciated. But you also go down in the description and check out my other links. I'm on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Discord, YouTube, and Twitter, so please follow all those accounts. They're linked in the description down below. Thank you for watching, and until next time, my name is Chaos, signing off. Stay safe, and as always,